Hi, I'm Elmer Cox. I was born 1944 and grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. Both parents were dedicated Christians, so they raised me to be the same. I was raised with actually four academic interests from the time I can remember. The first was chemistry and the other sciences. I loved science. The second was evolution, paleontology, the study of dinosaurs, and so forth. History was my third interest, and last but not least, the study of the Bible. As I grew, I continued to love the first three and became devoted to the scriptures. And that's the way it still is. And that is why the Cox Report was begun, and that's why it exists today. I bring the latest scientific studies in that I can, together with big history and the reality of God. There is no myth here, only deep, dedicated study of all knowledge that I'm able to grab and of ultimate reality. I just want to invite you to come study with me. This whole thing is going to be about a nation that is looking at itself in a mirror and not quite liking what it sees, because the nice stuff that we've been told about how unified we are and how nice we are, it's really not true. And we really are like everybody else. In fact, worse than some. We got some bad records out there when it comes to slavery and so forth. But at the same time, the whole world is changing. And as we have been a leader before, we can be a leader again in helping people understand how to deal with this diversity that's going to grip us and will probably continue to grip us on through the centuries. People are different. Things are different. More and more different things are coming all the time. People don't like sameness. We have all the ideas that everything is just nice, sweet old apple pie and jam, and it's not that way anymore. Now we got all kinds of things, people walking around doing all kinds of things that we find disgusting. But we're having to recognize that, hey, they can do that. And life is more than that. And in spite of that, we need to grow more together.
Our national anthem.
when there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, and this country is representing people the way that it's supposed to, I'll stand.
We're now living sort of as these two sides that don't want to meet, right? It's like you're hateful, they're saying you're hateful, and we don't want to meet somewhere in the middle ground. And I think majority of Americans actually fall somewhere in the middle, and that's the hard part. We got to make that choice and say we're gonna come and we're gonna figure out ways of finding common ground. It's not easy. It's gonna be very hard because we have a lot of divisive narrative now where we're like forced to take sides. And we're going to have to find creative ways and say, look, no, majority of us still have a lot in common. Most of us are immigrants, regardless of what one side might say. I'm a son of immigrants. Majority of people out here on both sides are kids of immigrants, second, third, fourth, fifth generation. So we got to find that common ground.
242 years ago, the United States of America was born. The motto that we picked for ourselves was E pluribus unum, which in Latin means from many, one. The phrase was meant to tell the world that the group of people who formed this new nation was recognized as a varied and diverse group, but the mixture they produced was meant to be unified into one strong country that would lead the world. At first, the plan seemed to go pretty good. True, there were a couple of snags. The first was that even before the Constitution was written, we actively imported slaves, and that would become a curse that would haunt us and come close to destroying us many times over the next 400 years. Yes, we are still trying to straighten that up. We even inserted language into the Constitution that showed the world what we thought of these individuals as less than human. We were willing only to give them 6% of the rights of human beings. This has been a flaw that has threatened us ever since. Will it be fatal? Well, not yet, but who knows? You see, racists still exist throughout our country, and they continue to preach a white-only culture. This is false unity that fails to see the beauty in our gorgeous diversity. The second snag was that even though we tried to make religion a matter of free choice for all citizens and guests, we slowly have turned Christianity into a chain of control that continues to strangle us this very day. The idea has come to be, get rid of diversity, whether it's a race or a religion or, for that matter, anything else. And that philosophy, if allowed to continue, will destroy our country and our Christianity, as it has already well into doing. We must begin immediately to accept the fact that diversity is acceptable and essential to the continuing of our society. Diversity, not unity, is the most positive tool we wield. Diversity, in fact, is not a bad thing or a good thing. It is merely an existing thing that opens up the world around us to development, growth, and, dare I say, maturity. Diversity is part of what it means to be an American. We are indeed the land of the free and the home of the brave. Now, let's wake up and act like it.
O'er the land of the free and the home of the
This is called unity. Now we're going to push the needle.
I said some pretty strong words just now about diversity and unity. Let's clarify that a little. Unity sounds like such a positive term. It is a natural hero type word. We say things like, we are unified. We support one another. We are the land of the free and the home of the brave. But it may surprise some of you to know that these statements are almost never true, blue, honest from the heart. Though we talk so often about our unity, the truth is there has never been any meaningful unity in this country. Surprise you? If we are white, we don't trust blacks. On the other hand, if we are black, we certainly don't trust whites. After all, we have had slaves here since we learned to raise tobacco on our plantations. And that was before we even considered planting a nation here. Think about it. We bought and sold, beat and killed human beings. We killed witches, imprisoned and murdered gays, and tried to wipe out any people with any meaningful or bothersome differences that we came upon. And then we had the audacity to yell, "We are united." Shame on us. And on our desecration of the very words unity, united, love, care, hope, etc., etc., etc. Well, what about that other word, diversity? Well, you say, you can tell from the first two letters, DI, that this is a divisive word, and divisive is bad. Is it really? The process that it takes to bring two different opinions together is actually constructive. The end is almost always better than the beginning. Diversity always demands another look at the choices and almost always finds a better road. When looked at in that way, diversity doesn't sound so bad, does it? Actually, let's look at the two words again. Unity, which sounds so good, is actually a sleepy word that takes people no place. Unity is only good if everything is perfect. And guess what? Things are never perfect. On the other hand, diversity seems to be a very negative word, whereas it actually tends to cause a second look and a solution to problems. Diversity almost always makes things better in the end. Our nation has a proud history that goes all the way back to the early 17th century. We are good people that have had more than a few problems, but we have never, ever given up. Now, however, we face some difficulties unlike any we have faced before. We are in crisis. Our unity is in disarray. Diversity has become our watchword. In more than a few ways, we just don't like one another. We have found that we are not the same. We have found that we don't agree. The answer appears clear to me. We need to recognize that we are no longer a united people as we once were. In many of our beliefs, we need to quit insisting that we must agree on everything all the time. We need to accept the fact that we are diverse. We need to face the fact that this universe is made to work not on the sameness principle that we have always counted on, but actually on differences. Everything here is unique. And that's what this show is all about.
Diversity is now, in some parts of Europe, seen as a threat. Diversity comes with challenges. But diversity is humanity's destiny. There is not going to be, even in the remotest places of this planet, a nation that will not see diversity in its future. That's where humanity is heading. And those politicians trying to sell to their electorates a society that is exclusively composed of people from one culture are trying to portray a future based on a past that never existed. Therefore, that future will never be. Europe will be diverse, like all other parts of the world will be diverse. The only question is, how do we deal with that diversity? And my answer to that is by ensuring that our values determine how we deal with diversity and not giving up our values to refuse diversity. That will bring us down as a society. If we don't get this right, I truly believe Europe will not remain the Europe we've built. Europe will not remain a place of peace and freedom for very long.
I remember when I first came to Grand Rapids. It was the year 1973, 1972, someplace right in there. I came here to try to sell some books that I had, used books, and I came over from Owasso. We came over M21 and then down Fuller. And I remember coming into the downtown area. It was a very bad-looking thing. There were many stores closed up that looked like the downtown area was completely deserted. There were signs in all the windows. There were some department stores, I remember, and other things. It was not a very good-looking thing. It was sad. Now I look at Grand Rapids and it's completely different. It's bright and shiny and new. There are skyscrapers every place. There is a Miracle Mile. This is a very active going place. Back then it was religious, so to speak, but it was dying. Today it is much more alive and it's much more diverse. And that's the part of Grand Rapids that I like, the diversity of it. The fact that there are many kinds of people here trying to live many kinds of lives, and all we have to do now is find out how that can be done to satisfy everyone.
And that's why it is so important today that we reaffirm our character as a nation. People drawn from every corner of the world, every color, every religion, every background, bound by a creed as old as our founding, E pluribus unum. Out of many, we are one. For we know that our diversity, our patchwork heritage, is not a weakness. It is still and always will be one of our greatest strengths.
Diversity is not just a painful supplement to life. It is a needed, welcome addition that is a very needed special cutting and splicing tool that promotes an out with the old and in with the new mentality. Bert D. Erdman, for example, has written a book, The Triumph of Christianity, in which he states that before the triumph of Christianity, the Roman Empire was phenomenally diverse. But he goes on to say that in less than 400 years, the movement grew from 22 followers to about 30 million. Could we be setting up for such a growth movement again? Diversity once opened the world to a vast Christian surge, and who knows, Christianity or something else could make it happen again. And so perhaps diversity will bring unity to us all.